the if statement. In our last video on operators, we touched on the if statement. The if statement is one of the more useful commands that you'll find in shell scripting, and many other programming languages for that matter. Why? Because it's flexible. It allows you to ask if something is true. For example, if there's a file on my C drive called bob.txt, then do something. Copy it, delete it, rename it, ping Yahoo, whatever you like. It can also do the opposite. If the file bob.txt doesn't exist on my C drive, then create it, or ping Yahoo. So let's take a look at common uses of the if statement. We'll first go and open up Notepad and we'll get started. Okay, well let's consider a statement that is true. The first thing we've done here is we've set an environment variable called name and we've set it equal to Bob. Then we've produced an if statement. If the environment variable of name is equal to Bob, and notice that when we're comparing two strings here we use a double equal sign, so if name is equal to Bob then we'll echo out this text. Alright, well let's just save this and I'll just call this script if.bat and we'll save that. And now we'll go and open up a command prompt and we'll just run our script. Okay, the script works and we can see that our environment variable of name is equal to Bob. And of course that results in the text Bob and Bob are the same. Now by the way, if we go back to Notepad and we take a look at this script again, you'll notice that we didn't use quotes here around our strings. Now let's just change this a little. Instead of setting the name environment variable directly to Bob, let's accept input in the form of an argument. So we'll change Bob to %1 and we'll save this. And then we'll go back to our command prompt and we'll rerun our script again, firstly without any arguments at all to see what happens. Alright, we get an error telling us that echo was unexpected as there was a problem with the first part of our script. Now, if we go back to our script and quote our environment variable, and of course the string of Bob, and we'll save it and we'll go and run it again without an argument. This time it does run without error. Why? Because when we didn't provide an argument on the command line, the %1 parameter that we set up here becomes a null string or a string with a size of 0. So we'll go back to our command prompt and we'll run our script again, but this time we'll enter in an argument of Bob and we'll hit enter, and we can see that this time that it works fine. In fact, had we provided an argument the first time around, it would have actually worked the same, but be aware that by not providing an argument and not quoting the strings, that you might run into the problem that we saw here. Now, as another aside, your shell scripts are quite flexible when you quote your strings here. You actually don't have to use quotation marks. If you want to be difficult, you could change these quotation marks to $signs if you like, or exclamation marks, or even a period. Try out a few of your own and see what I mean, but I'll give you a quick example here. So let's just change these quotation marks to say a period, and I'll have to do that here for Bob as well. Okay, and I'll save this and we'll go back and we'll rerun our script again. And we can see that it works fine. Alright, well let's consider another example. This time we'll check to see if a file exists on our computer. Now from previous videos I know I have a text file called new text document on my C drive, so we'll write a script that tells us if it's there or not. So we'll go and remove these two lines here. This time our if statement uses the keyword exist. And we use exist to see if a physical file or folder is present on our system. So if exist this text document, then we'll echo back the file exists. Alright, well let's save this and go back to our command prompt and we'll run our script, and we see we get the text the file exists. And if we open up my computer and I'll go to my C drive, and we can see there we do have the new text document.txt. Okay, but what if new text document.txt wasn't there? Well, let's delete it. We'll find out. Say yes, and we'll go back to our command prompt. Well, we get nothing. And that's because our script was looking for the presence of the file. And now if it doesn't exist, it just exited. But hey, this is scripting. We can fix this. In fact, there's a couple of ways. So let's go back to Notepad and we can specify what we want to do in the event that this statement is false. You see, the if exists statement evaluates to true, meaning the file is there and then the echo command runs. If it's false, or the file isn't there, it doesn't run. So to specify what we'll do in the event that this if statement is false, we'll simply add the else command. And then we'll add in a new line. We'll echo out the file doesn't exist. Okay, we'll save this and we'll go back to our command prompt again, bearing in mind we've now deleted that file, and we'll run our script, and this time we get a message telling us that the file doesn't exist. Now there is another way of doing this as well. We can use the not command. So we'll say if not exist, then we'll echo out the file doesn't exist. Again, here we're looking for a true statement. You see, if the file doesn't exist, then we will run this echo statement. Okay, so we'll save this and we'll run our script again, and we get a message saying that the file doesn't exist. Again, we get the same sort of result, it's just a different way of doing things. Now we can also use the if command for error checking. And this is important because no matter how good your systems are, there will be times where something will prevent your script from working as you intended it to work. Because most shell scripting commands return error level values or numbers when they execute, we can use the if command with the error level clause to determine whether the preceding command executed successfully. Now an error level value of 0 indicates that a command did complete successfully, whereas an error level value of 1 or higher indicates that it failed. So let's consider this script. So here we want to copy the new text document from my C drive over to a temp directory. Now don't forget that my new text document doesn't actually exist, as we just deleted it a moment ago. Alright, so our next line here is where we perform our actual error checking. So if error level is 1, and which you'll recall we said indicates a failure, then we'll echo out the last command failed. Alright, well let's save this and we'll go back to our command prompt and we'll run it again. Okay, as we expected, we do have a message telling us that this command failed. Alright, well let's go back to Windows Explorer, and I'll just hit Ctrl Z to bring back the file from my recycle bin. And I've just now realised I don't actually have a temp directory, so otherwise our script will fail, so I'll just go and quickly create a temp directory. Alright, we'll go back and we'll rerun our script. Alright, well this time our command worked, as our error level return would have been 0, which of course is not equal to 1 that we asked for. In fact, if we go to our temp folder here, we can see the file has now been copied there. Alright, well let's go and consider another example. Now this time, you may notice that we're using here a nested if statement. Now let's take a closer look at what this statement says. If the error level is 0 or greater, and the error level is not 1 or greater, then we'll do something. Okay, so the error level must be equal to 0 or higher, but not equal to 1 or higher. Now what this really means is that the error level must be 0 for this statement to be true. Now if it is true, we'll go to the label called worked, which simply echoes out the text, the command was successful, and then goes on to EOF, which means end of file, and that's just another way of saying stop running the script, thank you. Now if the error level is 1 or higher, indicating that the copy command failed, then it won't execute the go-to worked command, and we'll just continue to the next line to the failed label and then echo out the text the command failed. And then skips to the next line, which simply tells it to go to the end of the script and simply exit. Alright, well we'll save this and we'll go back to our command prompt and we'll run it. Alright, and we can see that our command was successful. Okay, well let's go back to Windows Explorer and we'll delete our file here, our new text document, and we'll run our script again. Alright, this time we're told that our command failed. So there you can see how error checking can make your script much more robust, as you can direct the flow of your script based on the results you get when it runs. Okay, in this video we've looked at using the if command. When you need to make decisions in your scripts or check for errors or perform an action based on the results of a previous action, you'll find the if statement very, very useful. Now in our next video, we'll look at joining commands together to make your script shorter and more flexible. We'll see you there.